Welcome back to Coding Shorts. I'm Sean Wildermuth. One of the things that can be a challenge when you're building applications that are going to be deployed in the cloud, especially things like Azure, you're going to want to deal with configuration across your products. This may be configuration across different instances of your application or just in large microservice projects. Having a central way to manage that configuration can be really important. But let's talk about that in a minute. I want to first plug my upcoming workshop on Pragmatic Architecture for .NET Core. This is going to be a one-day workshop where we cover everything about how to architect your projects as well as your systems for release in production environments. If you're free on August 26th and want to join me, you can find a link down in the show notes. But back to app configuration. Managing configuration can be done in a lot of ways. Some people do it in databases, some people do it with files. A lot of the people that are using Azure App Services go ahead and just use environment variables. But over time, as you get more and more pieces to your organization, that can become more and more difficult. I think that's where app configuration comes in. Let's take a look. So I'm in Visual Studio. I'm actually in the preview, but we're not going to be doing anything about .NET 9 here. It just happens to be what I'm using as my daily runner. And I have a very quick API that I'm using, and I have a client app, but most of that doesn't matter. What I have is an app settings file that has some information. Now, some of these pieces being in the app settings file probably are a bad idea. My address book database here happens to be my local database without authentication, so that's probably okay here, but when I deploy, I'm going to want to replace this with real values. Same with this auth section. If this were real values, I'd be concerned about keeping these, especially secrets. I don't want to have those just sitting in my application. I'd like to be able to store those somewhere securely. So I'm going to use Azure App Configuration to do this in a different way. Let's go over to the portal. I went to the marketplace and just searched for app configuration. You can see app configuration allows you to configure different applications from a central point. So I'm going to go ahead and create one. I'll just create a new resource called Coding Shorts. And East is fine with me, and I'm going to call this our Coding Short Config resource. And there is a free tier and a standard tier. I'm going to go ahead and use free just because I don't want to forget to delete this. There's some features that are more important like georeplication if you're using the paid, and the price of this is really, really low. So I'm going to go ahead and create it, and I'm going to fast forward this whole process so you don't have to watch Azure do its hard work. And there it's done. I'm going to go to the resource and just show you around a little. The app configuration I'm going to be using has a number of pieces that you want to think about. And I'm going to start with the Configuration Explorer. Now, we don't have a configuration in here yet, but one of the neat things, and this default view will probably be off for you, is this is just going to show you the different keys that you want to create. And creating one is really simple. Now, you can say a key value pair or a key vault reference. And that's a very important idea here is for your real secrets, you're going to want to keep them in a key vault where you have very few people that have access to them. Whereas simpler configuration settings, not secrets, I would just keep them in key value pairs in the app settings. And this is as simple as giving it a key and value. So I'll put favorite color and pretend that I'm British, and I'll say beige. And you can also give these labels so that you can search or filter just by those labels. But I'm just going to create a really simple one. You can see here that the values are hidden by default, though I can come up here and show the actual values underneath. This isn't meant to secure things from inside your security sphere. People working inside the company, many of them will likely be able to come here. That's why you might want to keep your actual secrets in a key vault. We're not going to really cover that in this one. Instead, I'm going to come down here to import and export. You can actually import a configuration file, and here I can select a couple different ways to do it, but I'm going to say JSON and just pick our project from here. And here I have it in a new folder called Azure Configuration, and I'm just going to go into our project. I'm just going to select the app settings file. And you could filter it out and have separators, but the way we have it now, it should bring it in an appropriate way. Now that they were imported, let's go back to the Configuration Explorer, and you're going to see because we didn't tell it was a hierarchy, it just brought those whole sections in. Not really what we want. So let's actually come back to import configuration file, and this time, after I select it, I'm going to tell it that I want to use a separator. Now, just like we can with the different levels of configuration in .NET use colon, I'm going to go ahead and use colon. Imagine that you had a different kind of configuration that was using like a screaming snake case, right? You might want to pick underscore for that, right? But for us, I want to deal with it like it's colon, so I'll say apply. It imported it, and we now have the original auth, logging, and connection strings as the pre-imports, and I'm going to go ahead and just delete those. Yes. We can see the different values that we got out of that. Now, it has flattened them, but one of the interesting things is you can turn on this default view, let's say colon, because we had it separated by colon, and then it can show you in the same sort of structure that you had before. So now that we have these, let's change a couple of values so we can test this. So let's just go to the tenant ID is probably the easiest one. And let's make this a different value than we have in app settings. So we should be able to test that later to see whether it's getting it from the actual view. So let's go back to the Visual Studio, and we're going to need to add a new package. And if you search for app configuration, you're going to see this Azure Data App Configuration piece. You're not going to want that one. You're going to actually want the one that's Microsoft Azure App Configuration ASP.NET Core. So let's go ahead and include that one, accept all the licenses that I've thoroughly read, and now we can actually add it to our program. So the Create Builder here is creating the default configuration files that allow you to get app settings and the development version under development and all of that stuff. We're going to let that be built there. Let's go ahead and extend that configuration using our app configuration. So we can say builder.configuration.add Azure App Configuration. And this is going to require a connection string. Now this could even either take a connection string or a lambda that you can do a little more configuration. We're going to actually choose that option. So I'm going to say configuration, and let's configure this. So the first thing we want to do is to say connect, and here's where we need a config connection string. So I'm going to say config con string equals builder.configuration, and then I'm going to get it as a string. Now this may be a little confusing because we haven't added Azure configuration yet, but we need something to bootstrap calling into app services, and that thing is going to be that connection string. If we come back over to our app service, we can actually see in account access that it has a primary and secondary key, and we can just actually copy this connection string here. Now as you change, you might want to regenerate these so you're getting a new key and secret, but that's going to produce what we need in the connection string. And so we could just put that whole piece in there, but I don't suggest it because you're going to want to configure these things in a very specific way. So let's go to our app settings, and I'm just going to create a top level here that says app service connection. And I'm just going to come to our connection strings because this doesn't have to be just database connection strings. And I'm going to say app configuration and just go ahead and paste our connection string in there. And you can see it's in the name of our configuration service and then azconfig.io, which is one of the Azure endpoints that you've probably seen a few others like it. And so instead of calling it with quotes, let's just say get connection string app configuration. And once we connect, we can actually say select. And if I had a hierarchy where I wanted the actual settings for this instance to be a child of some top level node, could actually say go ahead and only click the ones for, let's say, that start with dev : Remember, even though we're seeing it as a hierarchy, we're really just including each of those keys with that full name. So this is going to grab just those. And that would be great, but you also might want to say trim prefix dev so that what we actually get there is just the child node of that top level node. So there's some different ways in here to be able to categorize this. You could also get this by the label name. So let's say label filter is going to be main server or something. And in that case, it would look for everything with that label and only pull in those things with that label. The important part of this is you have some ways to manipulate the configuration settings that are in there so that you could have either one giant instance for your entire organization, or you could have a number of different instances for different parts of your project. It gives you a lot of control over how you want to do that. But let's see how this works now. Now that we have the configuration setting, let's go ahead and just add a quick API in here so that we can go ahead and get it. Say get foo bar, IConfiguration, config, and we'll just go ahead and get the value for auth : tenant ID. Results.ok value. So let's run this for a minute, because here we can go ahead and just say foo bar, and we're going to see we're getting that value from the service itself. So we go back to the portal. What if I change this to all 8s instead? Been updated. Go ahead and refresh this, and you can see we're getting all the 9s, and that's because this is set up not necessarily to update you on every change so you can get at this value, but there is a way. So one of the things that this seems to imply is, how do we handle updates? It's kind of interesting because instead of there being a standard update way, we can actually configure refresh with a Lambda. And what we can do here is with the refresh, we can register a key that will be refreshed when we want it to be. So if we did something like auth tenant ID, you would think that when that changed, it would automatically refresh, but it doesn't actually. What it actually does is allow you to get a refresher by calling configuration, the object up here, not inside of this Lambda, but remember we're in 2 Lambdas at once, get refresher. And what does that mean? That means if we store that someplace, we can trigger the refresh to happen. So with this refresher, we could do something as simple as say builder.services.add singleton refresher. We could add this in case we want it so that we can go ahead and get an IConfiguration refresher object and then call refreshed, and that would get only the things that we've told it to register here. By default, they're trying to avoid you getting into this case of being very busy to the server because the connection to Azure may or may not be a long way. And so unless you really need it to be a live service, I would leave it like that. The refresh is interesting to know that that's supported, just like the trim and the select, but it's not going to be crucial in every case. So I've just scratched the surface on what we could be doing with the app configuration. But I wanted to let you know that it was there and that it was useful to do and that you can really manage multiple environments using the app configuration without having to have double dealing there. And because it is fairly configurable, because it is pretty easy to edit, you're going to find ways to be able to centralize all of this and keep all this configuration information inside and close to your actual applications. I hope that's helpful. If you have any questions about this or want to get the source code, it's directly down below in the show notes. Until next time, it's been Sean Wildermuth for Coding Shorts.